Senegal has been making headlines in the last, say, 2-3 weeks now. And it's because they have a new president. Of course, by now, you know President Diomaye Faye, who was sworn in the other day as the president of Ghana. However, there's a name that has been going on behind the scenes of the man who made Diomaye Faye president. That man's name is Ousmane Sonko. So today I want us to go through just a bit of understanding of who is this Ousmane Sonko and why he's so important in the president of Diomaye Faye. So yeah, welcome aboard. So Ousmane Sonko is the new Senegalese prime minister, and he was of course appointed by the newly elected Senegalese president, who I've said is Bassirou Diomaye, immediately after he was sworn in. Sonko is a 49-year-old and also the chairman of the PASTEF Party, which led to the election of the president Diomaye Faye on March 24th, 2024. PASTEF, for most, because most people actually do not know the full meaning of the acronym. PASTEF stands for African Patriots of Senegal for Work, Ethics and Fraternity. That's a mouthful. So let's just go with, every time I say PASTEF, we go back to that. Just you can keep referring to what the full name is. So Ousmane Sonko is is a firebrand politician and key proponent of President Diomaye. And Sonko and Ousmane share a lot of things, and one of those is actually in professional careers. And just like President Diomaye, Ousmane is also a former tax inspector, and he's also appointed several people in the cabinet who are also tax collectors. Very interesting that a lot of these people in this government were tax inspectors. So Sonko was the PASTEF candidate in the 2019 presidential election, but he emerged third back then. And he's been a major figure in the Senegalese opposition, of course, against the former president, Macky Sall, who, of course, stepped out on 2nd of April. Between 2017 and 2022, he served as a member of the National Assembly. 2019, he ran for presidency, where he called for Senegal to replace the CFA franc as the domestic currency. And that's a message, if you've been following up the happenings in Senegal, you know that's one of the things that the president now, Diomaye, has been pushing for, and is probably also one of the things that pushed Senegalese to electing him. Maybe that could be one of the things, because it seems Senegal and pretty much of West Africa is tired of the usage of the CFA franc as a currency for their trade. So the French have continued to face rebellion in West Africa. If you've followed up, we've had countries that have had coups. We've had everyone just trying to say that French should stop with the neo-colonization. The French president has also been called out by so many leaders, including the Italian PM several times, on the abuse and human abuse in the West Africa region. So part of it is that. So in 2019, Ousmane was arrested. So the arrest and subsequent investigation of Sonko by authorities back in 2019, that was following a sexual assault accusation, triggered mass protests, and rioting happened across Senegal. Protests against Senegal detainment also occurred internationally. Like when he was arrested, a lot of international organizations also raised. And one of the most key protests happened outside the United Nations headquarters in New York, with the US calling for Sonko's release from prison. That was in 2019. In June 2023, following 2 years of investigation, Sonko was cleared of the rape charges, but was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, with the case now being the corrupting the youth. He was sentenced to 2 years, that is, and in July 2023, his party, which is now what we were saying is a long name, so we stick to PASTEF, was dissolved by the Senegalese government. In April 2023, President Diomaye, who was then Sonko's party secretary general, was also arrested, and he was charged with contempt of court and defaming magistrate. But Diomaye denied these charges. But also, Sonko was also later arrested for a different charge. Sonko was, at this point, was to run for president in 2023. He was the PASTEF candidate that was to run before this whole thing happened. But then, a few months before the March elections, he was again detained and charged he was charged with insurrection, and in July, he was actually barred from running in elections to succeed the president Macky Sall, and he denied all the charges and any wrongdoing from that. 15th March 2024, Sonko was released from prison, and immediately he headed on a campaign. His campaign was actually for now Diomaye to run for president, since he could not run himself. So for the 24th March election, Sonko's endorsement of his former deputy to the run-up to the delayed election was very crucial. And Sonko endorsed Diomaye by saying, Diomaye is Sonko. And this was it for the supporters. All they needed was to be told by Sonko, this is the person I'm supporting, because Sonko had a lot of youth support. Immediately he left, just before going, actually since 2019, all this period that he's been going through these issues of arrest and release, the youth of Senegal, pretty much of them was actually supporting him. So immediately he said that Diomaye was Sonko. Everyone was sold for that. Sonko also assured his supporters that his choice of Diomaye was not a choice from the heart, but reason, in the sense that it was only reasonable for him to get someone who would push the agenda he had in mind. And of course, because they were on the same party, someone with the same values and who had a vision for the nation. Hence why his endorsement for Diomaye got such big mileage and support. So the duo campaigned jointly under the slogan, Diomaye is Sonko. Elections were held, and of course, Diomaye emerged top with 54% of the votes. And of course, by now, you know, he's been sworn in, and he's the youngest democratically elected Senegalese president. After his appointment, of course, now Sonko became the first official appointed government employee, so to say, by the president then. He was appointed as the Prime Minister of Senegal, who ideally is the leader of government business. In his speech after the appointment, Sonko said that there will be no question of leaving President Diomaye Faye alone to assume this heavy responsibility, meaning he was ready to work with Diomaye as president just to ensure that the people of Ghana get the liberation they have been looking for, or that they are able to achieve that which they promised Senegalese people during the campaigns. Also, Sonko also added that he would present President Diomaye Faye with a full list of proposed ministerial appointments for his approval, which by now he's already done, and he's appointed 25 people to the cabinet, and the president actually was agreed with him in terms of the names and all that. So it is no coincidence from this that President Diomaye's program includes the abandonment of the CFA franc, as I had mentioned before. The CFA is what a lot of West African nations have been operating on, and this was something that was left to them by the colonial masters, who were then the French, and the French have ensured that Senegal and the West African nations have not outgrown themselves or even grown to be a developed country because of the issues around the CFA franc. So this is a currency that is linked to the currency imposed on the country by France. And of course, with this, if they are able to change this, this will change. The president also said that they will renegotiate on the energy agreements with the main international companies that invest in Senegal. So with that, it tells you these two men probably will be successful in pushing for a better Senegal. We can only hope and pray for their success, actually, because the success of a nation in Africa means the prosperity of Africa in general. The Prime Minister, Ousmane Sonko, also unveiled his government team of ministers, made up of 25 ministers and 5 junior ministers, and President Bassirou Diomaye approved the cabinet list. So all eyes at this point remain on the two leaders to see if they will lead Senegal to success and sort out what was major on their campaign tools, which was the issue of the youth unemployment, which of course is a menace across Africa, and a lot of nations are facing this. So the question also it begs is why is West Africa going through, or is it that West Africa is going through a revolution of some sort, and the election of Diomaye might just be the route for Senegal, because the revolutions that we've seen in West Africa have been through coups. However, for Senegal, it was a democratic election. Maybe this was their way, and they feel that this is the best way out other than going the coup way. Remember, a lot of now the countries that are surrounding him, it's made up of nations that are led by army chiefs who've taken over through coups. So with this, then, it remains a very, he remains as someone to watch, because he's leading among, in a region where a lot of army chiefs are in power. So we just hope that for Diomaye, he's going to succeed. And with someone like Ousmane Sonko on his team, I hope they are able to achieve what they were campaigning for, and also push Senegal to be a better nation. We can only wish Diomaye and Sonko good luck, and we hope they are able to deliver, or rather help Senegal find its true north for the people, and also unite African leaders to push for a more united Africa. Yeah, so that's the story of the man who made the king from prison to the palace. The man behind Diomaye Faye, the president of Senegal, is none other than Ousmane Sonko, who's now the prime minister. We hope the two men are able to deliver Senegal and actually push Senegal to where it can get in terms of being a developed world. So we wish them the very best. And remember, the Prime Minister, Ousmane Sonko, is the man behind the president, that is Diomaye Faye. If you have comments and opinions you want to share about the two gentlemen, just share with us in the comment section. Remember, the success of the nations of Africa means the success of Africa as a continent. And we've always said, we are Africa, and Africa is our business altogether. So long live Africa, and we wish the very best to the duo. See you on the next one.